John Falk says it's hot in Belgium, 28 degrees Celsius.
It's not cold here, which is
It is not cold here.
Which is not
what it
something
was when I
we
drove
used to.
home from work. It was 28.
Oh, I thought as in like it was cold when I was driving home from work. I thought that was
Well,
like,
thankfully
you on your
it was
bike
inside
again?
the car.
Yeah.
No, well, I was actually in the car today. I had my MOT.
What
and
is
it passed.
what is the point of how? Oh, I see.
Your
right,
car
okay.
passed.
It passed. I'm absolutely thrilled.
So
I was a bit worried.
mine should pass tomorrow. Apparently, the work has been successfully completed, but they were very late delivering a water pump for the screen wash. So they weren't able to finish it today.
That's an MOT failure, is it?
Yeah, if your screen wash don't work, mate. Yeah, very much so. Yeah,
I suppose
absolutely.
that could be a bit of a safety issue in the
apparently it's frowned upon.
I had to refit the mirror glass on the side of my car after
Outrage.
a large,
they've changed
a large,
it again.
a
Have
large.
you seen this new version of Zoom? What a pile of dog turd.
Oh dear.
The fader's up on the YouTube.
Yeah, there they are, yeah.
Just because I can't hear anything, that's all.
It's going out by the look of it. Yeah, it's going out.
I've not got any video.
It's weird. So how come I can't hear it then?
I don't know.
So how come I can't hear it then? I can hear it now.
It's coming out of my Mac, that's all. I turned you up, as it were.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm getting audio, but there's no video.
Yeah, no, it's because I haven't put the video on yet. I'm trying to solve that.
That'd be that then.
Yeah, I'm just trying to solve. I've got a minor technical glitch that I'm just trying to solve at the moment. Bear with. I'm aware of the time, Ned, before you start.
No, I'm not going to speak on the subject.
I am panicking, trying to sort it as.
Nev's just got his order in for the room service.
Oh, is he? Oh, good man. Don't blame.
No, I've already had my fish and chips downstairs, actually.
Oh, you can finally go have cheese and biscuits later, Nev.
No, well, I've got some Meredith Drew biscuits, which I might chomp on irritatingly during.
Do you ever find, Nev, when you get those biscuits in hotels, that you never get enough? And you've had the one packet and you want another 10 packets.
Well, actually, they have given me another pack. So I've got wonderful white chocolate chip cookies and irresistible oat crunch.
They sound like the healthy ones.
Yeah. No calories in those, Nev. You'll be fine.
I think I'll just chomp my way through the whole packet, including the packet.
Quite, absolutely. They really should make the packaging edible. I'm just saying.
That would be a good idea.
Yeah. Like rice paper, perhaps.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
John Falk says, looks like BA lounge food, Nev. Yes, he's right, John.
Yeah, quite
yes.
right. Quite
yes, right. Absolutely. Well.
Oh, I'm a hot, sticky mess, and it's not nice.
And not in a good way.
No.
Mind you, I think it's going to start changing tomorrow, isn't it? I think we're going to have a bit of rain tomorrow. And
Oh, are they? Oh.
Yeah, the forecast is pretty
I better go and put the cover back on the scoot before I go to bed then.
rubish.
Hoping to get up to Heathrow at the weekend and go and watch the planes for a bit.
Oh, no, don't do that, because they won't let you.
Why?
Did you not see the feedback we had from Stuart Aslett?
That's all right. I'm not planning on going into the airport. I shall just be around the airport.
Oh, right, okay. More on that later. We'll talk about that later on.
Yeah, hopefully get up to Myrtle Avenue.
I still want to go. On my kind of places I want to go list. Stuart said it's a bit of a bugger to get to, but
it's the only issue is it's inside ULEZ.
Oh, I've already been stung once for that.
I thought that was
Here we go, then.
Children's channel.
Well, hello and welcome to episode 508 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. I'm Carlos, and welcome to the show. We're excited to be here with you. We've got another packed show for you this week. In this week's show, we've got some Moonlighting, but no Bruce Willis or Cybil Shepherd. A big boom in North Carolina, a high-altitude Airbus, and a wayward Max. We've got some military news from our great friend and dearly missed Armando, with some Air Force One updates and a new Leonardo helicopter. Joining me this week over in the PTUK Master Suite studio, it's our own, very own darling of the airwaves. It's, of course, Matt Smith.
How much is that going to...
what it says.
How much is that going to cost me? Blimey. Yeah, that's a bit weird. I'm only doing weekends at the moment. You're right there, Carlos.
I can smell popcorn coming through the window.
Right, okay. Fair
anyway,
enough. I mean, I can smell a cake baking downstairs. Perhaps it's drifting up the hill. Who knows?
Just a bit of a random smell to have coming through the window. Anyway.
Okay.
How are things
honestly, you made your face, honestly, just to explain to those who're listening to the audio version, honestly, you'd have thought somebody had just left, like some dog poo on the doorstep, the judging by the look on that face. It was just
such a random smell to have.
What, popcorn? I mean, people do eat popcorn, Carlos.
What, outside?
Well, they might be making it in the kitchen. They've got a kitchen window open. Anyway, focus. Aeroplanes, Carlos.
What the hell she's cooking down there? Anyway, nice and warm in the studio, Matt.
Yes, lovely. Little tropical. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, good. Glad to hear it. You have got a USB fan now, you know.
Yes, I need to find it somewhere. Yes, absolutely. Well, no, all the the sorry, the thing, the thing with all the USB ports on it, the power USB. That's failed for some reason. So, yeah. So no fan this evening. I've got to soldier.
Well, you've got loads of fans in the chat. And back with us this week, it's the man who has covered more miles than someone who's covered a lot of miles. It's Neville Bounds.
Yes, here I am, back, not at home, but in Cardiff, the capital city of Wales. So I've been in Birmingham for a couple of days this week for a show, come to see a couple of Cardiff customers. Had a very interesting visit to St Athan today, which is where they do all the parting out of the aircraft. Bits and pieces, which was good. And then last week, the reason I wasn't on the show is because I was in Belgium for a 3-day show. Or was it 4 days? I can't remember, out there. So, yeah, it's been extremely full on at the moment. And for an elderly gentleman like me, it's a bit much, especially with the temperatures being sort of 28, 29 degrees as well. But, no, it's all good. And the Hilton Cardiff very kindly upgraded me to a junior suite.
Ooh.
Which is where I'm speaking to you from now. And I've got the aircon set on 18 degrees, which is the lowest it will go, but I could do it down to about 15, I think.
Not working efficiently, I think, is what we're learning there. Yeah.
We'll look back on this show in a few weeks' time
as the only hot day this year.
As the only hot day this year, exactly. And joining us as well this week is our producer at large. He's the guy who works on the show notes tirelessly during the week for us. Of course, Mr. Nick Codling.
Oh, hi, Carlos. Yeah, good to be back. I'm melting here, slightly down in Devon, but
I'm melting.
Yeah, loving a bit of hot weather, so I can't complain about that.
Yeah, we really should. We mustn't complain, really, should we?
No,
it's
absolutely.
Been awful.
I had exactly that conversation with a lady in a petrol station yesterday. I went in to pay for some petrol, and there was a delightful air conditioning. I said, "Oh, it's lovely and cool in here, isn't it?" And then I immediately kind of told myself off for the
complaining
fact
about
we actually have nice weather for a change. But that's very typically British of us, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, if it weren't for the weather being so, different, shall we say, here in the UK, we as Brits would have nothing to talk about.
That is true. That is
true.
Like
to chat about food on the podcast, as Carlos has
good point. Yes,
so quickly
popcorn,
switched into.
Yes, absolutely.
I still need to get to the bottom of that. Andy is. He's going to be joining us a bit later on in the show. So keep your eyes open. Andy should be.
Don't make it sound like a threat.
It's not a threat. It's a joy.
Yeah.
But he's Andy. Andy, it's safe to say, has got some dad duties to attend to before he comes.
I think it was beard maintenance.
Of course, absolutely.
Beard maintenance,
Very much
yes.
so. Absolutely.
He's
He's got to
Very
head
much
down
required.
to the pub.
Some product.
Indeed.
So, let's have a look at the chat room. So he's joined us for tonight's show. Top of the list, Richard Adams joins us in there tonight. Hello to you. John Falk, hello to you. Hobby Time. Tanya W, hello Tanya, good to see you in there as well. Alpha Juliet says, yay, made it on time for once. Well done, Alpha Juliet. Bill is in there. Hello, Bill. Good to see you in there. Hope you're keeping well. We've got Reese is in there as well. Hello to you. Masha. Hello, Masha. Good to see you. Hope you're nice and warm over there, your side of the pond as such. Neil Lamworn is also in there as well. Neil will recognise the picture behind me, I expect, because Neil would have seen this aircraft a few times. We've got Sturman. Hello to you, Sturman. Good to see you in there, Garth. Be seeing you in a few weeks' time, all being well. And Neville Bounds is in there wielding his blue spanner of doom this week to make sure we don't have any nasty things going on in the chat room. Don't forget, if you are listening to our voices on the audio podcast, make sure you tune in and subscribe to us on YouTube, where we're live every Wednesday at 7 o'clock here with the team, chatting about all things aviation. We'd love to have you in the chat room for sure. Now, we've got loads to get through on the show tonight, including our retro airline ad of the week, where this week we're going to be going back to 1965. I know. Adverts, they existed back then. So, Matt, are you ready to do some commercial news?
I've just broken the mouse. Give me two seconds.
He's broken the mouse. So we'll
That's all right. We're backup plan. We're ready to go. Yeah, press the buttons. Here we go.
The captain has turned on the seatbelt light. Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelts.
Well, coming up in the first news story today from usatoday.com, and it's all about the FAA investigating a Southwest plane that plunged within 400 feet of ocean near Hawaii. An investigation is underway after a Southwest Airlines flight plunged 400 feet above the Pacific Ocean near Hawaiian Island this spring. The Federal Aviation Administration confirmed on Monday. The frightening incident took place on the morning of April 11th, and Southwest Flight 2786, the plane briefly dropped at an abnormally high rate of more than 4,000 feet per minute before pilots pulled up to avoid crashing into the water, according to a memo Southwest pilots distribute obtained by Bloomberg. The flight crew performed a roller coaster maneuver, the outlet reported, to avoid slamming into the ocean. And the FAA said they were investigating the incident. According to the online site FlightAware, which tracks paths of flights, Southwest Flight was an inter-island hop departing from the Daniel K. Inouye International Airport at 6:45 p.m., bound for the Lihue Airport just northwest of Honolulu. Not long after takeoff, tracking data show the Boeing 737 MAX 8 turning around and returning to the same airport, landing at 8:27. According to the internal memo, Southwest pilots were sent to be pilots of. Let me say that again. According to the internal memo Southwest sent to pilots last week, the pilots decided to abort the landing due to bad weather. The memo indicated a newer first officer was flying at the time and then inadvertently pushed forward on the control column, the outlet wrote. No injuries were reported, and nothing is more important to Southwest than safety, they said, the airline released in a statement early on Monday. Through our robust safety management system, the event was addressed appropriately, and as we always strive for continuous improvement. Now, this follows an earlier incident with Southwest Flight Southwest Flight, which was November 8825 Quebec. A Boeing 737 carrying 175 passengers was travelling from Phoenix to Oakland on May the 25th. when its tail began to wag left and right, causing the plane's rings to rock from side to side. And we chatted about that on a previous show. That was the Dutch roll incident. Now, I think there was another one, wasn't there, only this week or last week, Nick, where there was a Southwest aircraft that descended to 400 feet, I think it was.
Yeah, so
above the ground in the US.
Just looking at that now. So there was another one where it was a flight from Las Vegas to Oklahoma City, which dropped down to about 400 feet, I believe. So I've been sort of trying to do a little bit of background on this, and there's been a couple of different incidents, and I'm finding it difficult to sort of pull up any solid information as to what might be behind these. There's no suggestion at the moment to say that it might be, an MCAS or anything related to that, or whether these are just kind of some peculiar anomaly that's occurred. But obviously the fact that they're both MAX aircraft, everybody's quite heightened when it comes to those, shall we say.
Yeah, I think Wong Brown gave a good description of the incidents, both of these actually on his channel on YouTube, the Broncolario channel, which I'm sure a lot of people follow.
Yeah.
But he was quick to point out, the difference between the two incidents, that one was a Dash, I think it was a Dash 800, and the other one was a MAX. So they were, obviously the 737 family, but obviously they're two different, aircraft as such, between the MAX and the MAX, the 737-800 and the MAX 8. So two different aircraft.
Right, yeah.
But, well, the reports, I think, were due to come out next week, I think, on one of those. So perhaps we might hear more next week. You never know.
I'm sort of almost reluctant to post Boeing and MAX stories anymore, because I feel like everybody's just become a little bit fatigued about it, and obviously it's...
But the problems are still going on. This is the trouble, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's, I feel like it's sort of our duty in a way to be on top of it and to be reporting it. But
and it's also the case, as we all know, that when anything happens that involves either a Boeing aircraft or a 737, everyone jumps on it like it's going out of fashion.
Yeah, oh no, there was a fault with the taps in the toilet. It's a Boeing MAX.
Yeah, that'll be next week's story.
Yeah, so it's you have to kind of weed through it a little bit and just try to actually figure out what the facts are and whether or not this is something that's specific to a MAX or Boeing specific or actually
or pilot error.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I think.
Which does happen sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Carlos, I'm going to have to ask the question here, because I noticed the picture you've got behind me. For some reason, one of the windows has been blacked out.
Oh, what, on here?
Yeah.
That window is open.
No, it's not. That's been blacked out.
No, that's open. The flight deck on there is very, very dark.
Wow.
And that
really?
day, if you remember, Nev, that day was quite warm.
It looks like somebody's coloured it in with a crayon.
Yeah.
I don't think blacked out windows is part of an extra for airliners.
Go for the lowrider look.
Yeah, although you can with the Dreamliners, you can obviously do the you can black your window out on the which is quite cool. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now, Nev, next story. We're going environmentally friendly for this one.
Well, we are, but at a price. On paddleyourown.canoe.com, it says that German flag carrier Lufthansa is to pass on the cost of going green by adding a new environmental surcharge on many of its tickets from June the 26th. That's today. The new surcharge, which will range from €1 up to €72, depending on the type of ticket purchased, will apply to flights departing from all European countries, as well as the United Kingdom, Norway and Switzerland. The surcharge will apply per segment, so a return flight between Germany and the United Kingdom will have the surcharge applied twice, whereas the return flight between Germany and the United States would only have the surcharge applied on the outbound flight from Germany. This new environmental charge doesn't just apply to Lufthansa, but all of the other airlines that the Lufthansa Group owns, which includes mainline carriers, Austrian, Swiss and Brussels Airlines, as well as subsidiaries such as Eurowings, Discover, Lufthansa City and Lufthansa City Lines. Passengers travelling in economy class on a short-haul flight will be charged between €1 and €5 to help Lufthansa offset the cost of going green, whereas a first-class ticket on a long-haul flight will attract a surcharge of between €36 and €72. Lufthansa says that the surcharge will help it buy sustainable aviation fuel, which is currently much more expensive than regular jet fuel. The surcharge will also cover other legislative environmental policies, and the airline group is one of many carriers that is committed to achieving net zero by 2050 with the International Air Transport Association, IATA, estimating that SAF will contribute 65% of CO2 savings to hit this target. Currently, SAF is only available in very limited quantities, and most aviation regulators require the small amount of SAF that is available to be blended with regular jet fuel. The aviation industry had been hoping that fuel companies would move faster to ramp up production of SAF, but it appears that airlines will have to invest much more of their own money to make flights powered purely by sustainable aviation fuel a reality. Well, IATA estimates that the infrastructure to support 100% SAF-powered flights won't be in place until around 2045, and that will cost the industry around $5 trillion to achieve net zero by 2050. Now, there's always a price to pay, isn't there? Whether it's electric cars or whether it's this. Now, clearly, this is the direction that things are going to be going in, but rushing it is going to be challenging, I think. So but inevitably, it's the passengers that are picking up the bill at the moment.
But as you say though, Nev, the reality is that, you know, using electric cars obviously as an example, the infrastructure just isn't there at this stage, and that's a problem, isn't it? I mean, this is the thing. It's just like forgive my naivety, and perhaps we might have to come back to this when we've got Andy here, because he might know more. Nick, you might be able to help with this one though. What is the significant difference between normal avgas, is that what it's called, like sort of like all that sort of thing, versus this particular type of fuel? I mean, why does it require a different infrastructure? Why can't it mix with the existing fuel, for example?
I think the two are perfectly compatible, and it does say in the story there that SAF will tend to be blended with regular jet fuel
anyway, as part of the process.
The issue at the moment, I think, is more that because of the process required to actually make it, we need to kind of establish infrastructure and a supply chain in order to be able to in order to be able to actually manufacture it. But I think chemically they're there, virtually indistinguishable. It's just at the moment it's essentially ramping up enough production to be able to start to
cope with demand, essentially.
The existing
and again,
jet fuel.
Forgive my naivety on this one. What is it that makes it sustainable? I mean, does it rely on fossil fuels in any way, or is it purely, you know, created without the use of? I know it's being blended at the moment with avgas, but
so currently I mean, it can be made in a number of different ways. I think we did a story a while back where it was actually made out of what we might refer to as human byproduct. I think that's one of the ways that you can do it. Another one is obviously by
I know a field right next to me that would provide an excellent source for said biomaterial.
Right. And obviously the other
cows, by the way, I should just stress that it's not that.
Yeah, that works.
It's not anything else going on in the field next door to me.
What goes in
goes on in Bungie is entirely plausible at the end of the day.
Yeah. Tune into Spark Radio to find out more.
Good Lord, no.
You can grow that. You can use crops, byproducts from crops as well.
But again, so like the crop element as an example, are we realistically going to genuinely be able to essentially source enough land in order to grow the raw materials required for the volume that, I mean, even if it was decided that the only route that we made it was for aviation, can they genuinely make enough to do it?
Yeah, that's the big $1 million question. I think probably the answer at the moment is no.
No, yeah.
But I think, you look at the kind of the big debate about, car manufacturer all moving to electric vehicles, and that being very much, 15 years ago, the government wanted us all to drive diesels because diesels were lovely and they were going to save the planet. And now diesels are horrible and evil.
They're evil,
and
yes,
we should all drive electric vehicles. And maybe in 15 years' time, we'll all realise that actually driving electric vehicles isn't the answer either. And, it's all about managing it, not only in the kind of political spectrum, but also, aviation as an industry isn't going to want to stop. So if the dinosaur juice starts to run out, we are going to need to find alternatives.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm sure that where there's a will, there's a way, and people aren't going to want to give up their internal combustion engines.
No, I don't think so.
They really like them.
They do, yes, absolutely. It is my dream to one day own a banana rather similar to Neb's, because, I've never, ever had the privilege, if you like, of driving or owning a performance vehicle in any way, and that would be glorious.
Oh, mine is a diesel as well, so
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, surprise.
Performance diesel.
Performance diesel, yeah, absolutely. John Falk is saying in the chat room, I wonder if all the extra revenue raised by Lufthansa Group will be tracked so that it does genuinely go to SAF.
That is a blooming
really good question, isn't it?
Yeah,
indeed.
Yeah, it does feel to me as though there needs to be a mechanism for that, because
otherwise it's just going into the coffers, isn't it? I mean, that's the
and I love the internal combustion engine as much as the next
more than any man, I think. To be fair, I mean, you've got several bikes that would defend your honour on that one.
yeah, and but I think we can't deny the fact that large airliners do contribute significantly to global emissions, and I think that it probably ought to be upon us all to help to bear the responsibility for that. And I think that I don't know, this is my personal opinion, is that I wouldn't mind paying some sort of surcharge to help
steady
help offset that.
I mean, if you look at the progress that's been made so far, with the Neo engines, for example, and the probably 20% less fuel burn that there have been previously, and the aircraft such as the 737-400 and obviously the 200s and BAC 111s, all those sort of things are just out of production now. Anyway, the newer aircraft that are out there, the fuel burn versus the performance and passenger carrying ability is incredible. So it is possible to make quite good progress, but it doesn't happen that quickly.
No.
That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, you look at videos of old 707 videos taking off, and you see the four kind of trails of black smoke coming out of those engines, and you think, crikey, we really have moved on a long way in the last sort of 20-30 years.
But as you said, though, Nick, I mean, the reality is that progress going to have marched on soon enough before we run out of the dinosaur juice?
Yeah, don't know. Ask the Saudis. They seem to still have quite a bit of it kicking around, don't they?
Before we move on to the next story, Bill's comment in the chat room is quite good as well.
Bill's saying how many people are going to switch carriers to avoid paying the fee. Now, that is an interesting one. I mean, Nick's obviously said, he would be quite happy to pay some kind of surcharge. I mean, Nev, you do quite a lot of flying. Is that something that would form, if this was a serious option, to sort of do it, would you... is that something that you would factor into?
Would he move from BA?
No, well, no. I mean, BA might, BA may, when they start doing it, but they say, okay, we're going to stick a surcharge on.
I mean, typically, I'm on a 20-year-old aircraft when I'm flying around Europe, like as I was going to Brussels last week. It would not make any difference to me at all, because the plane's going anyway. Yeah. Whether it carries me or whether it carries 149 people, the plane's going anyway. That's probably a slightly outdated attitude, which my children wouldn't be that happy with. But frankly speaking, it would make a lot of difference. And unless it was a substantial premium. I mean,
Right.
by that I'm thinking, 50% uplift or something like that. Now, they've got to be very careful how much of the charges they pass on to the passengers, because we've only just come out of the pandemic, 3 years or 2 years ago, really, and the airlines are just still trying to get back on their feet after that and trying to get revenue back. So if they decide to hit them again, as Lufthansa Group is doing, they've got to be a little bit careful with that, because people might go, we'll just drive or take the train or something.
I'm going to say at this point that I'm not feeling that sorry for the airlines at the moment, because I think they're all doing okay.
Yes, indeed.
But yeah, it does feel like there needs to be a kind of a mechanism in place that if that's something that's going to happen, because ultimately you could consider this to be a kind of fixed operating cost. And as a user of an airline service, you would expect them to pass on fixed operating costs to the consumer. But yeah, that needs to be done in a way that's fair and is traceable.
Although they're a bit cheeky, aren't they? Because very often the aircraft that I'm flying on today, they hedged the fuel and they bought that fuel a year ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think there's got to be a bit more transparency about that.
Agreed.
Well.
Agreed.
Now, Matt, you've got the next story, and I must admit, when I saw this week on the social medias, we've covered a lot of stories on this show over the years, and I think this is probably
a first. I think, yeah, this is a new one on me. Certainly, it's airlive.net, and it's brace yourselves for this one. Virgin Atlantic fires a pilot. Nothing unusual there. They fire them for secretly working for another airline. Virgin Atlantic has fired a female pilot after discovering that she was simultaneously employed by KM Malta Airlines. First Officer Danica Thoma had reportedly been working for both airlines since at least December 2023. Virgin Atlantic, which only operates long-haul flights, requires pilots to have a specific number of days off in between duties to prevent fatigue. Thoma's colleagues reported that she used her mandatory rest periods to travel to London and fly Virgin Atlantic planes out of Heathrow Airport. This violates international safety regulations concerning pilot duty times and rest periods crucial for crew and passenger safety. However, it remains unclear how the pilot managed to hold a second job at KM Malta Airlines while meeting Virgin Atlantic's scheduling requirements. While Virgin Atlantic immediately fired Thuma upon discovering the double employment, KM Malta Airlines reportedly took a different approach. The Maltese carrier might be desperate for pilots, as evidenced by the fact that the airline only suspended the woman for a short period of time before reinstating her, rather than terminating her employment. I mean, she's got guts. I'll give her that. That's all I can say. She's got guts. That's all I can say. But I mean, all jokes aside here, I mean, there's a very big difference between long haul and short haul, and I mean, however you dress this up, this is just wrong.
She must have been jolly busy, is all I can say.
I mean, she must have been pulling two separate salaries in.
Oh yeah, I mean that's not the issue. I mean, if it was just involving money and there was no safety aspect to it, I'd be like, yeah, bravo, good work, love. But like, I'm really concerned that, and she basically got away with it since December of last year.
So
it's not like it was a cheeky 2 weeks, if you like, between transitioning from one job to another.
So as somebody that used to be a professional driver, Matt, if you were doing this as a coach driver or a lorry driver, you were sort of, working two different jobs for two different employers. What would be the connotations for that from a licensing point of view if you got caught?
So, first of all, in the coaching industry and in the lorry industry, Carlos will back me up on this one, it cannot happen purely and simply because you carry around a tacho card. And
right, so that's personal to you.
So it's personal to you. And I must admit, I am very surprised that there isn't some form of tacho card, if you like, that you have to pop into the head of the aircraft, if you like, to log your hours. As in fact, I'll pop it back up here. Richard Adams was saying, I wonder how they managed to log their flying hours. And it's a very good point there. I guess there is this assumption that you're only working for one airline, therefore it's that airline, if you like, that is responsible for logging your hours. So in terms of essentially, people have done more than they're allowed to do in terms of their tacho, but all it takes is a roadside stop and they'll basically throw the book at you. They'll take your license away for anything. They can ban you for up to, I think it was 12 months, Carlos, was it something like that?
I think it's 12 months, yeah. And a fine as well.
And a big fine, and it's a big fine as well. It's like anything between £2,000 and £5,000 for being in breach of your driving hours. And that's not just a fine that goes to the driver, that also goes to the company that's employing you as well.
And they risk losing their operator's license.
Yeah, they risk losing their operator's license as well.
Yeah.
But it's very, so unless you get somebody who is on purpose, like, swinging it, because the tacho card that you're putting in the head, and every time they put that tacho card in the head of their machine, it will have told them that they had not had their appropriate level of rest. And I must say, I am kind of surprised, really, that A, this is the first time this has come up, and B, I am surprised there's no mechanism of this for, like, even in the Cessnas, do you know what I mean? Like, so that everybody can log all their flying hours. You've got a digital record of the time that you've spent in the air, so people can't be fraudulently, filling in their logbook and all that kind of thing. So maybe that's the next step to.
I would be interested to know how she got caught as well. Was it she was flying on an Air Malta sector and she came over the RT and went Virgin 5 Echo? I mean.
Yeah, might have done. Yes, of course, yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't actually say how they found it. But that's quite an innings. That's 6 months worth of dual flying, shall we say, isn't it?
Dual pay and everything. I mean, as I say, in many ways, I'm actually kind of impressed. If it weren't for the sheer risk potentially to all of those people.
Yes, Plain Talking UK does not condone unsafe.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame that Andy hasn't made it on yet, because I think I'd be interested.
Maybe if he turns up later on, perhaps we'll ask him.
Yeah, because I'd be interested to know what the kind of licensing connotations might be for something like that, because I don't know whether there are actually sort of strict regulations in terms of how many hours.
There is pilot hours, isn't there? Because they do time out if they get delayed here, in the UK especially.
But it's very
but that's kind of on duty hours, isn't it? In terms of how much you can fly within a given time frame.
And that's not regular. If you like, that nothing is recording that potentially other than the airline and or your honesty, if you see what I mean. In terms of
even recording hours, logbook hours, I think is actually that's almost done kind of on a you do it yourself and nobody really verifies it necessarily.
Indeed. Alpha Juliet says fly what you want, log what you need. Yes. There's a strong argument for that. Andy, by the way, is still full-on dad duties, having a little trouble getting Littleton to sleep, sadly. I have suggested that he pops us on. I'm sure Littleton will be asleep in about 5 minutes, but he's not gone for that, which is a bit of a shame. But Bill is saying that maybe she wore the wrong uniform to work. I mean, that'll do it. Yeah, absolutely. But also, I mean, forgive me, Carlos, you know a bit more about this airline than I do, but presumably a bit like, presumably it's the Malta aircraft essentially would have been originating most of the time from Malta. So unless she was at a remote base, ideally Heathrow, by the sound of things,
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
There's a lot of risky connecting flights and all this kind of thing.
Air Malta well, who were Air Malta, they're called KM Malta now, but they rebranded, and literally, if you see the aircraft they've got now, which are all Airbus A320s, basically all they done was took the air off the front of the fuselage and left the Malta. Everything else is the same. The tail, the tail livery is the same. The paint job's the same. They literally just scrubbed off the word air and left Malta on the aircraft. But anyway, their Air Malta always had, I think it's either 2 flights a day out of London Gatwick or Heathrow. Was it? No, it was at Heathrow. It's either Gatwick or Heathrow. So they always had flights in here every day.
Yeah, but are
Heathrow.
they? But
and they've retained them, and they've still.
Yeah,
got
but
them.
would there be a crew change? Is what I'm saying. So if it originally, they might have a slot at Gatwick, for example, but it may be because it flew from Malta into Gatwick.
No,
and
they
then
generally
flew from
they used to fly in the morning first thing. Load on here, and then go back to Malta, and then come back with the same crew.
So but that's my point. You see what I mean? The flight is originating from Malta. They're not basing anything at Gatwick, for example.
She must have been very clever, because she will have been rostered on return flights with Air Malta, and then goes off to fly for Virgin Atlantic. And what happens if something went wrong down route, or an aircraft went tech or something like that?
I mean, there is a chance that some of this might have also been, she might not have been flying a full schedule. She might have only been part-time potentially, so she might have only been doing maybe one
days off.
Well, I mean, there could be a number of reasons why perhaps perhaps a relief pilot, so she was only doing holiday cover or whatever. I don't know if we've got all of the information here. There may be a simple explanation as to why the schedule worked, if you see what I mean. Either way, it definitely shouldn't have been happening. I don't think anybody's disagreeing with that.
We'll have to ask Andy when he pops in.
Indeed.
But hopefully he'll be back in a second, or be on soon, because we've got another story here next from Flight Global. This is all about the Airbus A330. Now, we're talking about here on the show about the slightly warm weather we're having here in the UK. So Airbus is expecting its A330neo to secure clearance to operate at higher altitude airports early next year, following a series of flight tests in Latin America to demonstrate performance capabilities in hot and high environments. The airframer flew the A330-900 flight test airframe MSN 1795 to Mexico and Bolivia for a 2-week campaign in the second half of March to illustrate the takeoff and landing capabilities in the warm weather and rarefied atmospheres. While the A330 200 and 300 models are each certified by the European Union Aviation Safety Agency to operate at airport altitudes up to 12,500 feet, the authority has only formally approved the A330 800 and -900 to altitudes of 8,000 feet. Airbus say it should obtain 12,500 feet certification for the A330neo in the first quarter of 2025. This will be especially beneficial for the airline. Customers whose networks require such operations, it states Airbus conducts tests at Tulca Airport, just west of Mexico City, which has a runway elevation of 8,461 feet. But it also carried out flights at Bolivia's La Paz airport, where their runway lies at 13,100 feet, presenting a greater challenge to aircraft owing to the reduction in lift and thrust from air thinned not only by high altitudes but also the warm local climate. Airbus evaluated climate approach performance as well as system checks covering engine starts, low speed taxiing and rejected takeoffs. In the case of engine starts, a crucial part of the campaign test included special instrumentation to measure the starter air pressure, which would be affected by the high-altitude airport. It states opening the altitude envelope of the A330neo would enable it to serve airports, including Colombia's Gateway Bogota, which lies at 8,358 feet. They said we can show the operators the current one or the new ones that the aircraft reaches the same capability of the earlier A330 variants in terms of high altitude operations, and with the advantage that the A330neo is much more fuel efficient, said Airbus test captain Frank Busnell, who led the campaign. Preliminary test results from the tests indicate good performance and good behaviour of the A330-900 and its Rolls-Royce Trent 7000 engines, the airframer states. So we all know about hot and high climates. I mean, that's one of the first things you're taught when you learn to fly, even here in the UK. In the summertime, even a Cessna 150 sort of has a bit of a mare when trying to fly in a very hot and humid day. Don't you know, say, Nev?
Yeah, and of course those flights are inevitably long-haul sectors, so they want to carry as much fuel and payload and passengers and luggage as they can, also to have all the correct reserves as well. So it's really important that these aircraft operate at high altitude airfields. That one in Bogota, was it 13,500 feet? Did I hear you say?
That was Bolivia's La Paz's 13,011, and where was the other one? Bogota's 8,358.
Yes. I mean, that's still substantial, and places like Johannesburg as well in South Africa, also very very high and hot areas as well. So those sorts of things are important for aircraft performance, because if they can't operate with decent payloads and they're not filling the seats, then that's a problem. Or they have to offload luggage on a regular basis. That's a massive cost for the airline, of course.
I suppose the question, it's funny what you think, it's probably an obvious answer to this, but you think that the 330, the original, the CEO, the normal 330, the original, and the new NEO, the Neo with better engines on, you'd think the certification would just kind of pass on. The airframe is virtually is the same airframe, it's just basically uprated engines and a few others.
I think also they have to demonstrate that this can perform reliably under those conditions, but also an engine failure after V1, for example. So with these new engines, if you are in a situation where you have had an engine failure or power reduction after V1, then the part of the certification, obviously, with any two-engine aircraft, is that it has to be able to still lift off and clear obstacles by a certain margin. So I think that's definitely part of it. And these environments are quite challenging, of course. But good to know that they are testing it fully in those circumstances.
Cast my mind back to one of my earlier lessons many years ago with our friend Stuart O'Neill, and he took me up in the 150 on a hot sunny day at Beccles. And I can remember there is a noticeable change in climb rate even with the 150 when the weather is really, really hot. In a cool day when the weather is, it's overcast and cool, which it is most of the time here in the UK, it's a completely different aircraft. And that's just
same with the internal combustion engine on your car.
Yeah.
Better performance when it's nice and cold and frosty, don't you? So,
Indeed.
Now, Nev, you've got the next story, and time for you to get wound up.
Oh dear, it's not a good one, is it? It's on theguardian.com, and it says that Just Stop Oil activists have sprayed orange paint over private jets at Stansted Airport on the airfield where Taylor Swift's plane is stationed, the environmental group has said. Two activists, Jennifer Kowalski, 28, a former sustainability manager from Dumbarton, and Cole MacDonald, 22, from Brighton, broke into a private airfield in Stansted at 5 a.m. on Thursday before targeting the jet. How can you have a private airfield at Stansted? It's either Stansted or it isn't. I don't think there's any... Perhaps it means the executive aviation section, perhaps. But anyway, Essex police said that the two women aged 28 and 22 had been arrested. They said officers were on the scene within minutes and detained two people. The airport is operating as normal, but a 22-year-old woman from Brighton and a 28-year-old woman from Dumbarton have been arrested on suspicion of criminal damage and interference with the use of operation of national infrastructure. Now, from memory, they really do throw the book at you if you start to go into that area or you interfere with the operation of an aircraft, which is kind of what that is, really, isn't it? Anyway, in a post on X, Just Stop Oil said that two activists had cut the fence into the private airfield at Stansted, where Taylor Swift's jet is parked, demanding an emergency treaty to end fossil fuels by 2030. That's about 8:30. The accompanying video showed one of the activists cutting a hole in the fence before spraying the paint over the jets. Just to confirm, that was not the touch-up paint for my car that they used either.
It's a bit too orange near it.
Yes.
Yeah.
However, in February, lawyers for Taylor Swift threatened legal action against a student who is tracking Swift's jet use via social media. The X-account CelebJets found that the plane owned by Swift was the most used by celebrities, emitting more than 8,000 tonnes of carbon. A spokesman for the singer denied that Swift was on every flight, saying that her plane is loaned out to others. Also, if they're squawking a code, or their code on, or using ADS-B data on Flight Radar 24, anybody can track them. The Stansted demonstration came as English Heritage pleaded with Just Stop Oil to stop targeting cultural monuments after 2 protesters sprayed orange powder on Stonehenge. That happened the other day, didn't it? Nick Merriman, the chief executive of the national body that cares for hundreds of national properties and sites, including Stonehenge, condemned the protest as vandalism to one of the world's most celebrated ancient monuments. 2 Just Stop Oil activists were arrested after the incident on Wednesday before summer solstice celebrations at the monument, which began on Thursday evening. The group has also targeted a series of cultural institutions in recent months, including disrupting a proms concert at the Royal Albert Hall, damaging a case around the Magna Carta at the British Library, and throwing tomato soup over Vincent van Gogh's sunflowers in the National Gallery. Speaking to BBC Radio 4's Today programme on Tuesday, Merriman said, "We respect the rights of people to protest as an important right in British life. But we wish people would channel their protests away from cultural heritage sites, museums and galleries, because we feel that this doesn't actually help their cause and causes this huge upset and disruption to the operation of these important sites." Excuse me, I had a quick glass of water.
I must say, one of the things that bothers me the most about this is... see, on the one hand, I'm very much on the thing like you're allowed to protest. It's a right that we very much deserve here in this country. Okay, we don't agree with this particular protest, but there may be a campaign or something that we are passionate about and we want to get involved in, and we should have our right to protest and make a march and all that kind of thing. The bit that bothers me the most on this is attacking places like Stonehenge. All right, planes are fine at the end of the day. Yes, it's inconvenient, but with the greatest of respect, there's plenty of money floating around to be able to put it all right and all this kind of thing. But you may never be able to get the orange staining off Stonehenge.
Yeah.
And, and like the damage to the Magna Carta, I mean, that is such a historically important document, especially to us here in the UK. And it's the lack of respect that is my issue. And they absolutely have their right to want to stop oil use and production and all that kind of thing. That's absolutely their right to protest. But as they sort of say in the story here, we should. These are historical monuments, and I know why they're doing it. They're doing it for publicity, and let's be honest, it's work. Because even a small aviation podcast, based here in the UK, is talking about the work that they did this weekend. So in many ways, it's worked, because here we are having a discussion about it, and perhaps the problem is that they are getting lots of attention when they do something like this. Maybe we should ensure there's a news blackout, but then you're censoring the news and all that kind of thing. So where does it end? I just it's the lack of respect for some of our most culturally important areas like Stonehenge and the Magna Carta and all that kind of thing. It just the whole thing makes me very uncomfortable. And I am a believer in your right to protest. I absolutely am. But you must also have respect for the country to which you are living in as well.
There you go. Very true.
Bill's
I
suggesting.
agree.
Bill's suggesting that as punishment while they're jailed, they should have to listen to Taylor Swift constantly. I mean, I mean that's definitely one way of.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, no, me too. Absolutely, she is a very clever woman. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah,
There's
clever
no
is one word.
Yeah, absolutely. Fair enough. Okay. Shall I move on, Carlos, before we get sued or something?
Yeah, let's. We haven't had a supersonic story on the show for a few weeks, but Matt's got this next one about Boom, and he's also got nice little video to play after this as well, which is quite interesting to see.
Indeed. BoomSupersonic.com is the source for this one, and the headline is Boom Supersonic completes construction of the Overture Super Factory. Boom Supersonic marked the completion of the construction on its Overture Super Factory with a ribbon-cutting ceremony on the 17th of June 2024. Located at the Piedmont Triad International Airport in Greensboro, North Carolina, the Overture Super Factory is the first supersonic airliner factory in the United States. The state-of-the-art assembly line is where Boom will build its supersonic airliner Overture. Construction of the Overture Super Factory represents a major milestone towards ensuring the United States' continued leadership in aerospace manufacturing, said Blake Scholl, the former and CEO of Boom Supersonic, founder, and CEO of Boom Supersonic. Supersonic flight will transform air travel, and Overture provide a much-needed innovative alternative for airlines across the globe. Hundreds of millions of passengers will fly supersonic on aircraft produced at Overture Super Factory. The first assembly line has the capacity to produce 33 Overture aircraft per year, valued at more than $6 billion. Boom plans to build an additional assembly line, scaling to produce 66 supersonic airliners annually, the Overture Super Factory. There's a lot of use of the word Overture Super Factory, just in case if anyone was unsure of the name of the factory. This time they're using the word campus. It'll also include a delivery centre where airlines, including United, American and Japan Airlines, will receive their supersonic aircraft. Overture aircraft produced at said factory will begin vital innovation to aviation and set a new standard for global air travel. The demand for industry advancement is clear, with the top global airlines looking to companies like Boom to bring more competition and differentiation into the market. This, coupled with the passenger desire for faster flight being at an all-time high, paves the way for Overture to fundamentally transform not only how people travel but also how they connect with the world. I'm going to stop reading the story there because it's essentially a massive advert for the
Boom,
for the company there. But so we've got a little. So what is it that we've got in this little video then that we're going to play now?
It's just profiles the aircraft itself. It's quite interesting to see. It's obviously showing the factory, which you've just been talking about on that story.
Yeah.
The question is, are we going to see this in our lifetime? I mean, Nev, you were lucky enough, as we all know, to have flown on Concorde when she was still in service. And we've said it a number of times on the show. Are we all going to be into episode 1000 of PTUK by the time this aircraft eventually flies?
Longer than that, I would guess. Bearing in mind, now I know the technology has moved on, but Concorde was designed in the late 1950s, early 1960s, and didn't actually fly commercially until 1976. So that was very, very many years.
Well, of course.
Now, things have changed a lot, obviously, and they can develop things a lot quicker these days. They're not using, well, Nick will know this, they're not using paper and pen to do drawings on anymore, are they? There's all the very clever CFD stuff and all the digital manufacturing and CAD and what have you. Nonetheless, it's still got to make commercial sense, isn't it? That's the thing.
I love, Nev, how the Overture just looks like it just looks very similar to Concorde. Obviously,
it has to be. If you're going to fly it at the speed they're talking about, there's really only one shape that will do it. Which is why the TU-144 look the same as, or largely the same as well.
Oh, the TU-144. Now that was a yeah. There's a comment in the chat room from Andy, Matt.
Yes, he's saying a lot of the issues Concorde faced around the environment, noise, etc., will certainly rear their heads again, and I think he may have a point. I mean, also the other thing I was going to add into that, I mean, Concorde was a very special aircraft. There's no two ways about it. Every time I go to Duxford, for example, I go and pay homage. I always make sure that I walk through it, just because it's such a super special aircraft. As you say, Nev's had the privilege, and it is a privilege, however you dress it up, to have basically flown in said aircraft. But is there really the desire and passion for supersonic flight? I mean, that they're sort of hinting at in the story here. I
think the thing to remember is that Concorde was designed for two very specific routes across the North Atlantic, from London and from Paris to JFK. And the fuel burn and all the rest of it, as horrendous as that might have been, it was able to do all that with the right level of reserves as well. Now, clearly today's engines are far more efficient, so that opens up possibilities for different routes for this sort of aircraft. I don't know what sort of route structure they've got in mind currently, but the fuel efficiency will be a lot better. However, there's still a big question mark in my mind as to whether the supersonic era has now passed. Bearing in mind Concorde stopped flying in 2003. That's a very long time ago now.
Yeah.
And have we all just got used to the fact that it's going to take us 8.5 hours to go to New York, rather than 3 and a bit,
This is undoubtedly going to have a price tag on it, though, Nev. I mean, do you think people will be willing to pay that tag these days? Because it's not going to be. I think it's going to be even more eye-watering than Concorde was.
Well, don't forget, Concorde was in service latterly. Okay, well, yeah, actually at the start, there was no proper internet connections. There was no video conferencing. When it left service in 2003, we were only just getting sensible internet speeds to do things, which means that we didn't have to get on a plane necessarily to do things. Now, with all the fibre connectivity we've got and the very high internet speeds, business people might go, I'm just going to do a half-hour Teams call rather than, spending a lot of money on this. Now, you can imagine that the fare structure to begin with will be extremely high. No two ways about it. Now, whether corporate and enterprise are prepared to cough up that money for their passengers is another question. But it will be interesting to see what route structure and fare structure they're able to offer.
Agreed.
We'll see when the prices come out. Start saving now, people. Start saving now. Right, so from one speedy story onto a story that I think is going to shock the entire PTUK community. Honestly, this news is just going to shock everyone. That comes from Simple Flying, this. And how are you ready? Here we go. The headline. Global Airlines Airbus A380 first flight delayed to 2025.
Sacre bleu.
Global Airlines is delaying the launch of its commercial operations to 2025 with its first A380, which was ferried to Glasgow Prestwick Airport for maintenance and interior fitment, still undergoing these processes at the Scottish Airport. When the airline was announced the acquisition of its first A380 aircraft from the aircraft asset management company Doric Aviation back in May 2023, the United Kingdom UK-based Global Airlines said it would launch flights in the spring or summer of 2024. While the A380 that it ferried to PIK was a different airframe, the airline is continuously reassured it would begin its flights in 2024. The latest announcement, which broke the news about its partnership with Oric, Harrington and Sutcliffe, indicated its plans to launch passenger flights next year. Meanwhile, the airline's only active A380, registered 9 Hotel Golf Lima Oscar Bravo Lima, was still undergoing maintenance and cabin retrofit processes at PIK. Global Airlines said the next step of the maintenance process should start in the next few weeks, which will take it a step closer to launching operations next year. According to CH Aviation data, the airline also has 2 Airbus A380 aircraft that are scheduled for delivery, 9 Hotel Golf Lima Oscar Bravo Lima and 9 Hotel Mike India Papa. While the latter has been ferried to the Mojave and Aerospace Port to PIK via Montreal Maribel International Airport on May the 1st. 9 Hotel Mike India Papa has not been active on the radar since December 2023. Since the arrival of Bravo Lima at PIK, it was a monumentous occasion for the airline. Global said that the ferry flights of its A380s, which had to be done with the aircraft geared down, were made possible by fantastic partners, which included Airbus, MHV, PIK, and Highfly, the Portuguese aircraft crew and maintenance and insurance operator. Its filings on the UK's Companies House indicate that as of December the 31st, 2022, it had a capital of £100, which translates to $127. 2 subsequent filings posted on January 11, 2024 and June 2024 announced Thomas Guy Stokely, a former executive of an adult content website, and Prashant Kishore Umachandi as directors of the company. Holiday Swapping Limited owns more than 75% of the shares of Global Airlines, according to the UK's Companies House data. However, the latter company's latest financial statements for 2022 indicated that it had £476,193 of cash and 15.7 million owed by debtors, totaling £16.1 million. Nevertheless, when Global Airlines announced that it had officially acquired Bravo Lima, which has the manufacturer's serial number MSN 120, it had agreements to purchase 4 aircraft, including MSN 120. Those agreements were announced in June 2023, with the carrier detailing that the quartet had been purchased for an undisclosed figure. At the time, Global Airlines promised it would share more information about the aircraft within months. Well, this is a shock horror for the whole team. We were obviously expecting to see Global in full operations now, flying across the pond over to the US. But Nev, I think we kind of guessed this may well have been the...
I mean, I want to see them be successful with it. Don't get me wrong, but this has been going on for a while now. I mean, it's not as though the A380 is a brand new aircraft that nobody's operated before. And I know they've had to take it out of the desert and, do lots of maintenance on it and interior fit out and what have you. But we'll have to wait. I'm not going to say anything negative about it, but we'll just have to wait and see with this one. So let's see if they can get it off the deck with some passengers next year.
What amuses me on this story is the fact, Nev, they're actually they've got a website where they're selling merchandise.
Oh,
you can actually buy your own Global Airlines hoodie.
Oh, it's a nice hoodie, to be fair.
Well, for 45 quid, I would expect someone to come and put it on for me every morning before I went out.
Perhaps that's how they're planning to, finance most of the operation.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, like Nev said, it would be awesome if this works. If they can make the whole thing work and have cheap fares and fill the aircraft as well, because that is a fairly important aspect of...
I do recall, though, when Richard Branson first got their 747-200, they operated between Gatwick and Newark airports. The biggest challenge was not necessarily filling aircraft, but what would happen if there was a maintenance issue with only one aircraft in the fleet? That's quite a big problem now. Obviously, back then, the 747, there was, perhaps other aircraft around that they could wet lease in. But the 380s, there's limited.
They're a very unique beast, aren't they? I think that's which is what's so lovely about them, but also part of the problem, I think.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to the next story. And if I can get my mouse to work properly, there we go. Armando's got the next story, and hopefully, Matt, you've got this one all ready and ready to rock and roll. This is all about the Icon aircraft rescue sale that may be approved, and this comes to us from iopa.org.
Well, hello, friends. Fancy seeing you guys here. Greetings from Houston, Texas. First, I want to attest that the Boom Supersonic facility that the guys were just talking about on the show is indeed an impressive one. Now, I've mentioned on the show a couple times that the Greensboro Triad Airport is just up the street from us there in Charlotte, and I actually get to fly in every once in a while. Now, over the past few years, we've seen that facility get built up, and we, the community at large, are all super excited to see what the future brings with Boom Supersonic. Now, that airport is already home to Honda jets. That's where they're made. There's a large airliner freighter maintenance and repair operation. There's Cessna Textron, where Matt Smith actually got to fly in with me in the Hawker. And there's some other large operations there, like Samaritan's Purse with their DC-8 and some other aircraft. But in other news, we talked about on the show a couple months ago that Icon Aircraft filed for bankruptcy in April of this year. Now, they've been looking for a buyer for their California headquarters and their manufacturing facility in Mexico. There's another facility there in Florida. Now, a judge this week recently approved the terms for a $15 million-ish purchase of all of those assets. Now, that sale will hopefully allow the company to continue making airplanes, but that hasn't actually been made clear yet. There are some negotiations that are still happening about intellectual properties, some of the design stuff. So ultimately, there were two offers, one from China and one from Germany. Everything so far is pointing to the fact that a branch of Durkop Adler, which is a German, I believe, sewing machine manufacturer, and Linden Blue, who's the co-owner of General Atomics, they're a drone manufacturer, are the winning bidders. Now, personally, I hope that Icon is able to continue their operations. I've always believed in the concept of this sort of attainable garage-kept seaplane with some car-like aesthetics. Now, the company had a rocky start with some high-profile mishaps, but at the end of the day, just my personal opinion, that it's actually a very capable aircraft. Now, for me, after living so many years in Europe, I saw the innovation happening on the continent and in Eastern Europe, especially when I went to Aero Expo in Friedrichshafen, especially with the light sport aircraft over there. And we just don't have the same drive here in the United States. Now, I would love to see more innovation here to contrast the thousands of now 50-year-old aircraft that we're all flying, the Cessnas and the Pipers, and start flying more airplanes like the Icon. So at the end of the day, I hope this deal goes through and that Icon is able to stay in business and we see more of them flying in the near future.
I mean, he may have a point. Do you think we'll see them flying in the future? Near future?
Well, you'd have to live near the coast or near somewhere like Loch Ness in Scotland to kind of benefit from having, you know, the amphibious Icon. It does look awesome, and it is a great way of, if you lived somewhere like Scotland and you wanted to get from one side of Loch Ness to the other, it'd be a great way of going across. But it looks so cool.
They do have a retractable gear as well, so you can still use it from a normal runway.
Yeah.
So it's quite an adaptable aircraft. Pretty nice looking thing.
Yeah, and I don't know what the specs are for this, but I read it's damn quick, Nick, because you've got quite a large engine on the top of this, like a pusher engine.
Yes.
With this.
Yeah, they've done quite a lot of work to make it quite easy to kind of get trained up to fly it. So I think their aim is to kind of almost make it a bit like a leisure craft type thing, you know, almost a bit like buying a jet ski, if you like. So you're kind of, it's sort of designed so that they can take non-flyers and sort of get people trained up quite quickly and you know, get all your type rating and everything done. And they've made quite a lot of effort to make the instrumentation appear a little more car-like, if you will.
I found the price, Nick.
Yeah.
How far off was I?
The Icon A5 costs in the region of $269,000 US.
Oh, that's way cheaper than I expected.
However, for the fully equipped version, the price is $389,000 US, and the Icon A5 runs on 91 octane car fuel or 100 low lead aviation fuel, has a range of 427 nautical miles or 491 miles, and it can fly fly for that amount of miles, 491 miles with 45 minutes of reserve fuel.
Does it say what the cruising speed is? Anyway, it's a cool looking thing, and I hope that they have gone to a considerable amount of effort with a lot of the testing.
Here we go. Find it now. It's one of these websites that has about 1,000 different adverts that pops up. Has a cruising speed, Nick, of 97 miles per hour. Okay. Or 84 knots or 156 kilometers per hour.
Right.
So there we go. Yeah, nice little bit of kit there. Right, now moving on to the last story in the commercial news this week. And Matt, what's this woman doing?
Yes, this is we do like an and finally, don't we? Really, and I think this ticks the box for that certainly. It's slightly off topic, shall we say, loosely related.
Well, it's aviation related.
Indeed,
I'm going to say that one was a bit tenuous.
Yes,
Sorry,
indeed,
I apologise in advance, but it did have a bit of aviation.
It does. No, it does mention aeroplanes. You are quite right. BBC.co.uk is the source for this, so we know it must be true. New Zealand woman, try that again. New Zealand woman sues partner for not taking her to the airport. A New Zealand tribunal has dismissed a woman's claim against her then partner after he failed to take her to the airport, leading her to miss her flight ahead of a concert with friends. She accused her boyfriend at the time of allegedly breaching a verbal contract in which she agreed to take her to the airport, she stay in her house and look after the dogs. According to a legal document, external, which only gives the applicant and respondent's initials, the woman, CL, said that she asked her boyfriend, HG, to collect her from her home and take her to the airport between 10 and 10:15 a.m. But he failed to do so. She told New Zealand's Disputes Tribunal, which deals with small claims up to 30,000 New Zealand dollars. That's 14,526 UK sterling, if you're interested in that number. As a result, CL said she missed her flight and had to foot the bill for additional costs, including travelling the next day and putting her dogs in a kennel. In her claims, she went on to outline the huge amount of inconvenience she faced, including costs for a shuttle service to the airport. The couple had been in a relationship for 6.5 years until this dispute. Before the case was dismissed, the tribunal looked at whether the woman's boyfriend had entered into a contract to take her to the airport and look after her dogs. The tribunal also looked into whether the pair had entered a contract in which the boyfriend had said he would incur the costs of a separate ferry trip to visit the woman's sons. The CL said that she paid for hers and her partner's ferry fares and wished to be reimbursed for the cost of his ticket. Conditional to both of these being true, the court looked at whether the boyfriend breached the alleged contract. It concluded that for an agreement to be enforceable, there needs to be an intention to create a legally binding relationship, which was not the case for CL and HG. Partners, friends and colleagues make social arrangements, but it is unlikely that they will be legally enforced unless the parties perform some act that demonstrates an intention that they will be bound by their promises. Tribunal referee Kirsa Coe wrote in the decision document, when friends fail to keep their promises, the other person may suffer a financial consequence, but it may be that they just cannot be compensated for that loss. The referee found the nature of the promises were exchanged as a normal give and take in an intimate relationship and fell short of being a contract. As I have found that the parties, Nev's shaking his head, I can see him on the screen, as I have found that the parties made their agreement in the context of their friendship, CL has not shown she is entitled to the order that she seeks, and her claim is dismissed. The tribunal's decision was taken in March, but only published on Thursday. There we go. Nev, I'm going to come to you first, please. Feel free to pass comment on this ridiculous situation.
The legal profession in New Zealand are scratching around for a bit of work by the sounds of things.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't believe somebody took it on, frankly.
What happened to for richer, for poorer, for better, for worse, you know. I think there's been... Well, I do detect a possible bit of exaggeration in this story, but nonetheless, I think the principle is quite ridiculous, to be honest with you. So, yeah.
The thing is, they were in a relationship for 6.5 years, and essentially, according to this document, this is what brought their relationship to an end. I mean, it must have been a very special trip that she was going on to.
There's someone in the chat room called Carlos Stebbins.
I know.
I'm going to sue my wife for not letting me have more aircraft parts in my office. Let's see how we go.
That's brave. He's very lucky his wife doesn't listen to this rubbish.
Oh, hopefully not.
No,
hopefully
indeed. I mean, what an utterly ridiculous story. I don't think there's any way
honestly.
I mean, it's just like... I don't know. I mean, if you're a lawyer, perhaps you're thinking, yeah, I'll give it a go. You know, I'm going to get paid either way.
Where there's blame, there's a claim.
I doubt it was a no fee, no win, no fee.
No win, no fee. Yeah.
But
I'm quite pleased to see that common sense prevailed, though. That's quite nice.
Yes, it's refreshing
in the legal profession.
Yeah, absolutely. So, have you ever considered doing something similar, Nev? Has anything?
I think you know the answer to that. Even without me saying anything. But, no, I think common sense has to prevail in these situations, and
indeed,
I think someone took leave of their senses there, don't you?
Indeed, I think so.
Right,
dearie me.
That is the last in the commercial news segment for this week. Time to hand things over to Nev to introduce the next awesome part of the show, which I know lots of you are waiting for.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this segment, actually. It's the Retro Airline Ad of the Week. And this week we go back to the golden era of jet aviation with this BOAC ad from 1968. It's actually worth noting that the aircraft in this advert, Golf Alpha Sierra Golf Juliet, went on to become Zulu Delta 238, flying for the Royal Air Force up until 1987, when it was scrapped over at Abingdon here in the UK. So let's take a look at this amazing aircraft.
Before we let anyone near any of our planes, we send in the troops.
Very nice. How many babies have we got today?
Only one.
Look out for Mrs. Jenkinson, will you? She's on her very first flight.
I'll keep an eye on her.
Radar. Standby. Check standby. Passengers boarding. Ready?
BOAC announced the departure of their VC-10, flight 537 for...
Yes,
Am I going here?
No, you go straight down on the left. There you go.
Taking this to my grandson. I haven't seen him yet. I've got the bottle ready now. Let me take this for you.
Thank you so much. It's all good.
Before takeoff, check complete. Stand by for takeoff.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Captain Hart Lovelock and his crew...
BOAC. For grandmothers, businessmen, holidaymakers, 5-month-old babies. Anyone who wants to fly with an airline that takes good care of you.
I think the VC10.
Fly BOAC VC10. Look,
you see, on this Group 1 boarding business and all that rubbish that we have to put up with today. No, well, amazing aircraft, isn't it? And of course, it's worth noting, if you've never been on board the VC-10, of course, at Duxford is the Imperial War Museum. It has this aircraft on display and is to look around. And it's cared for by the Duxford Aviation Society. And there's also one at Brooklands as well, Nick, isn't there?
Yes, I went on board the one that they've got there when we were all down there for the 400th, and lovely aircraft.
I'm guessing, Nev, you never got a chance to fly on the VC-10?
No, I didn't. No, so aircraft that I have not flown on: TriStar, L1011, VC-10, Vickers Viscount, a whole load of things that I never got to fly on. So I went straight from Concorde to the 737-200 of Britannia Airways. So
it's worth noting, Nev, the uniform of the flight attendants on that BOAC with a suit and bow tie.
I want to say something, but I don't think I can really. Because I could upset today's cabin crew, so I best not say anything about it. But it was a different era, I concede. But nonetheless, they all look very smart back in the day.
It amused me on that advert. They say about the radar. I think that was a days, Nev, where the radar used to have that sweep and the orange cathode display.
Yes, with very slow refresh time on it as well, I think, isn't it? So, amazing.
Now, in the chat room, we've got Stuart Aslett with us this week in the chat room. And Stuart sent us some feedback to the show this week. Now, this week, Stuart went down to London Heathrow to go and do some viewing. Just I think near T5 he was at, I think, if I remember rightly. And whilst he was there, enjoying himself in the sunshine, viewing some lovely aircraft, he got approached by a couple of people from the security network at Heathrow and was told to, in a few odd words, go away. I'll use that term lightly. He was asked of various questions and what he was doing there, which was, how the by and by. He wasn't creating any nuisance, not shouting. He was obviously there doing what we all love to do, which is looking at aircraft. In a particular area which was, not blocking the road. It was a good view, good access view for him to watch aircraft. Anyway, he was not very impressed by the way and the tone of voice and the way he was spoken to by these operatives. And I think they pretty much accused him of possibly being a terrorist threat, which I think in Stuart Aslett's defence, he had a banana and I think a drink and a bag of crisps in his bag. I think he was.
He had a banana and he knows how to use
a banana. Yes, he had a banana. Obviously, very offensive weapon that. But it does. You beg the question. Obviously, we were talking about this a few weeks ago. About the fact that we've lost a lot of the viewing galleries and places where we like to spot aircraft here in the UK at our airports here. Manchester obviously got their viewing mound, or say, where the guys at Airliners Live transmit near to as well. They've got a good viewing platform there. But I think, there are certain ways to approach public to tell them to move on. And I think this was probably a bit rough and ready, Nev, by the Heathrow.
Yes, I'm sure we're all going to have a lot to say about this at the end, but I can't wait to hear Stuart's contribution.
Yeah, we can't play it out, but we're not going to play it out. But we did obviously say, we said to Stuart that we could do a little chat about it on here. But it was outside T5, it's a Cafe Nero. But I mean, what do you think, Nev? When you're in a situation where you are viewing, you're viewing aircraft and stuff in an area, you're not creating any hassle, you're not blocking any entrances, exits, or anything like that. There is a.
What I think, and actually some people at Heathrow and Gatwick have said this previously, is that actually most of the security staff value the input of the folks that are looking at the aircraft, because they're familiar with the airport surroundings, and if they see anything untoward, they will be one of the first people to spot it, and then they can alert the security folks if necessary. So if Stuart was able to give a perfectly good explanation of why he was there and what he was doing, there should be no reason for people to be moved on at all, I don't think. And in fact, it's to the disadvantage of the security folks, because as I said, people that are there regularly and know the layout of the airport and know what's normal and know what's abnormal, they can have a great contribution to the safety of the airport, actually. I don't know the full story, but I will listen to Stuart's recording later on. But it does seem heavy-handed and unnecessary.
Yeah, I think when you hear the story, Nev, obviously we can't plan it out, but I did say to Stuart we'd definitely talk about it on the show. But you'll understand, the full what went on. And let's not forget as well, they are banging on all the time about a pilot shortage. They need more people within the industry working at airports, engineers, etc., etc. The whole idea, in my view, of having viewing galleries and places to go and view aircraft is that you are inspiring younger people to maybe think, oh, wow, this is awesome. I want to get a job in an airport, become a pilot, or become flight crew, or become an engineer. And taking that away...
Yes, I'm just... The only thing I would say is Stuart mentions that he wasn't supposed to be there as he wasn't flying or dropping anyone off or picking anyone up. It does say something in the bylaws somewhere in the airport, certainly at the pod at T5, that you're only supposed to use that if you are doing any of those things. However, notwithstanding that, I think people... who are responsible for security there need to act with some reasonable behaviour and to ask sensible questions rather than being aggressive and heavy-handed, as clearly this is what's happened here.
Perhaps there's something we need to ask our listeners to send us some feedback on. If you know of some good places or good airports around the UK, I know we've obviously got the big two, Gatwick and Heathrow, but is there a place where you, as a listener, go to watch aircraft, albeit up north in Edinburgh? I don't know whether Edinburgh has any viewing galleries, Nev?
No, not really. It did have a nice little road up near one of the rendezvous points that I used to go to years ago. I've not been there because I very rarely drive there these days. So I have seen one or two people there, but it's not the viewing areas are not what they used to be. That's for sure. Yeah.
And Nick, you go to Myrtle Avenue a few times. You've been there a few times. Is that fairly accessible, and parking and all, etc.?
Yes. In fact, I shall probably be there on Saturday if anybody's in the area and wants to pop along. About a month ago, I was actually up on there's a kind of a big grass bank outside of T5 because the aircraft happened to be landing from that direction on the northerly runway, and it was absolutely perfect. There were quite a few families up there, and people were there with sort of camping chairs and stuff, and had some cameras with some big impressive lenses on them, and and it was really nice. It was a nice sunny day. It was very chilled out, and everyone was just there enjoying the aircraft. And I found the same over at Myrtle Avenue as well, to be honest, because there's a really nice big grass patch. I mean, that in actual fact, Myrtle Avenue is outside of the airport boundary, so you're kind of free to go there as though it was just public open space, really. But yeah, that's a great little spot, and there are
just thinking of the other possible. So I'm sorry to interrupt you, Nick. I was just thinking of the other possibility that there might have been, because the airports in the UK have now gone back to the 100 mil liquid limit going through security. Clearly something is up somewhere. There's been some intelligence somewhere about something, and therefore perhaps we're seeing the security folks being extra cautious or officious, as one might say.
A little heightened.
And I think perhaps that may be a contributory factor. I don't know, but with this, now we've gone back to the, putting all your liquids in the bag, even with these new scanners. So I don't know. I'm just wondering if this is a temporary blip But as Stuart just said in the chat room, the police had gone past several times and, didn't say anything and didn't move him on at all. So, very odd.
But yeah, if there is anybody that fancies it on Saturday, then I'm hoping to be there kind of late morning on Saturday.
Nice.
Yeah, and actually Myrtle Avenue itself, you can park there, but because it is a popular spot, that's the one where you see the sort of photos of aircraft coming in literally above people's rooftops of the houses there. It's quite a spectacular spot, and you can see the planes kind of coming in as they approach over central London, and it does give you a really nice view as they're coming into land. But what I found as another good spot, if you are trying to park to go there, is there's a little industrial estate just up the road, and you can sort of park a little bit further up the road and walk back down to Myrtle Avenue, and it's about a sort of 5-minute walk. So that's quite a good way to do it. The only downside for people like me that drive evil old diesels is that it is inside the ULEZ zone, unfortunately.
Yeah, you don't want to get stung by that.
No.
Because I know all too well. Anyway, moving on to the grey part of the show. I think, was Mr. Warner in there earlier? I think I see Mr. Warner in there earlier. It's time for some grey stuff. So, Matt, if you want to hit the button, and first up, we've got Armando.
What's up, bogeys? 135, 50, Angel 16, heading 340. Okay. 100 bogeys.
My happy place, the military news from the Aviationist this week. The first ex-Korean Air Boeing 747-8, destined for its doomsday conversion, has actually received a U.S. registration. This aircraft, with its new registration, November 747 Uniform Sierra, was spotted outside the Sierra Nevada hangar at Dayton International Airport during the recent 2024 Dayton Air Show. Now, last month, Korean Air disclosed some plans to sell 5 of its Boeing 747-8 aircraft to U.S. aerospace defense firm Sierra Nevada, or SNC. Now, this deal is valued at around $674 million. It was said to support Korean Air's strategy to replace some older airplanes with some newer models, and is expected to be finalized sometime around September of 2025. Now, the aircraft were probably purchased by SNC as part of its Survivable Airborne Operations Center, or the SAOC program. And in fact, Sierra Nevada recently secured a $13 billion contract from the U.S. Air Force to develop this SOAC, which will replace the E-4B Nightwatch, also known as the Doomsday Plane. That's known for that because of its nuclear war and emergency command rules. Now, this new SAOC will be a specialized version of a commercial aircraft, the Dash 8. While no confirmations were provided when the contract was announced, the most likely candidate for this conversion were these second-hand Boeing 747-8s, given the requirement for a 4-engine airplane. Now, the Boeing 747 production, as we know, ended last year. The subsequent sale of these 5 Korean Air Dash 8s to SNC more or less confirmed the selection of that specific type for the Doomsday conversion. The first of those just arrived this month at Dayton, Ohio. So November 747 Uniform Sierra will be modified extensively, as you can imagine. This new Doomsday aircraft will be equipped to withstand electronic and nuclear threats, featuring some secure communications, self-defense systems, air refueling capabilities, and some modular open architecture systems that will allow for some quick upgrades. Now, the exact number of aircraft has not been disclosed, but some reports suggest that the Air Force may acquire between 8 and 10 SAOC aircraft, expected to enter service somewhere around 2036. So go check out The Aviationist for more info on what the Doomsday Plane actually does. And there's also some really good documentary-style videos on YouTube. So check them out.
Oh, it's so nice to have Armando reading.
He's back, yes. And in a hotel room as well. He's
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. He's living the Nev dream as we speak.
Leaf out of Nev's book, yeah.
Indeed.
So from one Air Force One style story to another one from AirLiveNet. First flight of US President Air Force One aircraft delayed. Oh, they must have purchased their aircraft from the same place as Global. Anyway, the first flight of US President new Air Force One aircraft has been delayed, according to the United States Air Force. Two Boeing 747-8 aircraft, or VC-25Bs, selected to fly the US President around the world, are currently being modified, but the seminal first flight has now been postponed until March 2026. Reports by Bloomberg in November 23 said the initial power on of the first 74-8, which involves testing electrical and pneumatic and hydraulic systems, would be rescheduled for May 2024, and the first flight would be delayed until November 2024. However, Breaking Defence has now learned that the first power on will not take place until July 2025, and that the first flight not until March 2026. It had been expected that the first new aircraft will be delivered in September 26, with the second aircraft arriving in 2027 or 2028, according to a timeline set by Boeing Defense CEO Ted Colbert back in July 2022. The United States Air Force spokesperson told Breaking Defence Boeing is in the process of updating the rest schedule, which may result in changes to any dates provided. And further clarity on the Air Force One schedule is expected to be made later on this summer. I'm looking forward to seeing this because I love the Dash 8, the 74-8. Has that really nice kind of sort of blended wing, doesn't it, there, that kind of tapers up. Yeah, I'm not surprised this has been delayed. It's not your normal bog standard 747. It's got a few little extra bits and pieces added. So yeah, not surprised that this one will be delayed. But yeah, be interesting to see, Nev, actually, whether they'll do what they've done with the previous presidential aircraft and retire one of the old ones that are flying now, whether they'll retire one of those to a museum.
Are you referring to the presidents or
the aircraft?
No,
the aircraft, yeah.
The current president and the potential for one. We do try and keep politics out of the
yes.
show. I just couldn't help myself there. But no, that other one's been going for some time, isn't it? The other VC-25. So
I hope they do save one and put one in a museum. That'd be quite good. Nick, do you want to take the last military story? Because we're going to move on to those things with propellers on the roofs.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know Matt gets a bit twitchy when we talk about those. Yeah. So, this one is from aerotime.aero, and the headline is Leonardo unveils AW249 attack helicopter at Eurosatory 2024. The Leonardo AW249 attack helicopter made its international debut at the Eurosatory in Paris on June the 18th. Designated as Alpha, I'm going to get my letters all muddled up now. Alpha Hotel 249 Alpha November Echo Sierra Fenice, Phoenix in Italian. It is marketed as an exploration and escort helicopter.
Ooh.
It was developed through a collaboration between the Italian Ministry of Defence and Leonardo, and is designed for missions ranging from aerial escort to close air support, combat, attack and reconnaissance. The helicopter is powered by two General Electric CT-78E6 turboshaft engines, each of around 2,500 shaft horsepower. That's quite impressive. It boasts a maximum cruise speed of 287 kilometers per hour, which is 155 knots. That's not bad at all. And a maximum operational range of 430 nautical miles. With a payload capacity of 2,800 kilograms. That's a lot of donuts. The helicopter is equipped with a versatile array of weaponry, including guided and unguided 70mm rockets, air-to-air infrared guided missiles, and air-to-ground radio frequency or fiber optic guided missiles. It also features a 20mm 3-barrel cannon integrated with an advanced helmet display system for precise targeting. The aircraft is set to replace the Italian Army's aging fleet of Augusta A129 attack helicopters, and it completed its maiden flight on August 12th, 2022. Production is expected to commence soon, with deliveries scheduled for 2027. So I'm actually wondering if they might be building any of these in the Leonardo factory up in Yeovil, which is not that far from me.
Ooh.
Oh, send you up there, Nick.
Yeah, it's only an hour away. But yeah, it's a cool looking thing, isn't it?
It's kind of like, it looks very much like an updated Apache, doesn't it?
Yeah,
very
it's
similar
kind of modernized design, and I guess it goes back a little bit to what Nev was saying earlier about the Boom Overture aircraft. Is, you know, when you're building an aircraft for a particular role or capability, you know, it will often end up to have it might end up looking a little bit like something that's gone before, because ultimately you're sort of guided by the laws of physics.
Indeed. Just chat amongst yourselves for a moment.
Actually, Nev, you've got some details, haven't you, for the listeners, all about our meetups that we are planning for this year?
Yes, lots of popular requests. So just a reminder, on the 14th of September, it's actually on the 14th and 15th of September. We'll be going on the 14th of September, which is the Saturday. We'll be going to the Duxford Battle of Britain air display. Entertainment there is from 8 in the morning till 6 p.m. The flying starts at 1 p.m. Advanced tickets only. You can't just turn up for a ticket. So on their website, they are available from £49.50 plus a £5 car parking fee. Children aged 15 and under go free with the standard tickets only, and Imperial War Museum members can save 10%. So that's Saturday the 14th of September. I would imagine we'll be there quite early to get our bacon or sausage bap, whatever we have. And then before that, actually, we're going to be doing a PTUK meetup at Beccles Airfield in Suffolk. That's on August the 3rd. And we're going to meet up at the airfield from 10 a.m. The ICAO identifier, for those that need it, is Echo Golf Sierra Mike. That's Echo Golf Sierra Mike, Beccles Airfield. There's a restaurant on site, so we'll be able to sit and have lunch together, maybe a few beers for those who aren't flying or driving straight away. There's actually some nice accommodation available on the airfield as well, but you'll need to get booked up. Need to make contact with them fairly quickly, because it does get booked up. And if you are flying in, you'll need to register a PPR booking, which is prior permission required, which you can find the details of which on their website, and that's www.becclesaerodrome.co.uk, or you can email the club at ops@becclesaerodrome.co.uk. You can give them a call if you want. +44 for the UK, 1502 476 0074. That's +44 1502 476 074. So we'll put all the links in the show notes, and you'll also find them on our Facebook page as well. So quick recap then: Saturday the 14th of September at Duxford, and then on the 3rd of April, is that a Saturday as well?
3rd of August.
3rd of April. 3rd of August. Is that a Saturday?
It's Saturday as well.
It is Saturday as well, yeah. So Saturday, August the 3rd, meeting up at Beccles Airfield for a fly-in. So those of you who are of the GA fraternity are welcome. But you must register a PPR booking beforehand. As I mentioned, the Beccles Aerodrome site is www.becclesaerodrome.co.uk, or you can email the club at ops@becclesaerodrome.co.uk. Look forward to seeing as many people there.
We had a very interesting message this week from a certain captain who we haven't had on the show for a while, who may go by the surname of Al.
Ooh.
He's very much going to be joining us for the fly-in. He's going to be flying in.
Love that.
Al has also been very busy on his social medias. He's also got a few pilots are going to be flying in who work with him at the airline that Al flies for. They're going to be flying in and joining us. So there should be quite a good handful of aircraft joining us on that day. And I think, is it the PA-28, I think, is that, Nev, that Al
Yes.
has got? Yeah, PA-28. So Nev will be... might even get a ride up with Al. You never know, Nev, if you're lucky enough.
Yeah, well, Mrs. Nev's not coming after what happened last time. So.
Oh.
So not a fan of GA aircraft because they're not as smooth as your A320s, I'm afraid.
No, but as Nev said, it'd be great to see as many of you listeners there, if you can make it there, to sunny Suffolk, which it currently is, and hopefully will be on the 3rd of August, all being well. But yeah, as Nev said, more details on our social media as well. And don't forget, you can email us if you want more info on that as well. So I'm going to start to wrap up the show, guys and girls. Nev, where can our awesome listeners find out more about us and the show, and also how can they get in touch with us here?
Yes, well, the details are, as usual, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram or LinkedIn. Just search those social media platforms for Plane Talking UK. You can email the show, podcast@planetalkinguk.com, and our website is www.planetalkinguk.com. We've got our YouTube channel, of course, and many people are in there tonight listening and watching us and taking part in the chat room. So just go to youtube.com and search for Plane Talking UK. You can also become a patron of the show. That helps us with replacement cables, website hosting, media hosting costs, that sort of thing. And the details for that or PayPal donations are available on our website, www.planetalkinguk.com. We have not fixed the WhatsApp number, I believe. So
no.
Correct.
When we have, we shall let you know. We might even be changing the number possibly as well. So we'll let you know when we do.
Yes, and don't forget, we would love to hear from you. So make sure you do send us an email in or give us your thoughts, possibly on your favourite viewing places to go and watch aircraft at your local airport. And also be great to hear from you as well if you're going to be joining us on the 3rd of August over there at Beccles for our flying meetup. Yeah. So, quick round robin. I know, Nev, you've got a very busy deployment, I should say, coming up soon, haven't you?
Yeah, it's non-stop at the moment. I should be slowing down a bit, but the opposite appears to be happening. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, I shall be in Sweden, flying to Stockholm initially. And actually, I think my BA aircraft is going to be operated by Danish Air Transport. So they're wet leasing an A320. Perhaps one of their planes is in maintenance or they haven't got enough. But that's crew and aircraft from Danish Air Transport on the way out, and a BA aircraft on the way back. So I will not be on the show, sadly, next week because I shan't be back in time. I shall still be in the air somewhere. But I shall, hopefully, I might be going to the Aviation Museum at Linköping. So Linköping's about halfway between Stockholm and Gothenburg. I worked there in that city for many years back in the day. So I'm meeting up with one of my colleagues, and although I can't really take any video gear with me this time, I'll try and do some footage of some of the museum there, because it really is a very good place. I haven't been there for years, so it would be nice to pop back and see what they've got there.
Yeah, very good, Nev. Well, we obviously want a trip report on the flying. When you fly, obviously you'll be with the BA boys and girls again, as always.
Yep, I say if this aircraft going out is a DAT aircraft, it'll be interesting to see what the crew and the operations like there as well. Won't it?
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Nick, what's going on in the world of two-wheeled action?
Well, actually, 4 wheels this weekend. So off up to, as I mentioned, off up to Heathrow. Hopefully Saturday. It's possible we might even be there on Sunday as well on the way back. So because I'm going to go and stay up with some family, not far from Nev's neck of the woods actually. But yeah, hopefully go and enjoy a nice bit of plane spotting for a couple of hours. And if we can get this sunshine to continue, that'd be great.
Little comment in the chat room there for you, Nev.
Yes, Captain Cruise points out that one of the DAT's A320s is 26 years old. The rest is a few years younger. But no, they get good utilisation out of those aircraft, don't they? But I have to say I can't complain too much because a lot of BA's aircraft that I'm flying on these days are 21, 23 years old. So, yeah, we'll have to see how we get on.
Awesome. Yes, have a good weekend, Nick. Enjoy yourself there at the old Av. Make sure you take a few pictures.
Oh yeah, we'll do. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And Matt, obviously you're going to be running around doing a marathon.
I've got a rare weekend off. So I intend to
actually, yeah, you were getting excited about that fact actually the other day.
Yeah,
you said
I was. Yeah, absolutely. I've got a whole Saturday and Sunday. I mean, not radio up until 10 basically. So if you want to catch me on Park Radio and hear what I do between 7 and 10 Saturday and Sunday, then search for Park Radio. Got a very cool radio player and everything if you're not in this part of the world. But yeah, after 10 o'clock basically, I'm planning to. I want to try and get the old lawn cut. And actually spend a bit of time in the sunshine because I'm a bit pale and pasty and we need to put that right.
Well, actually, on that note, the forecast has changed in the last 24 hours. Yeah, because it was due to be a bit
grey and
bit miserable on the weekend, which is not surprising because it always seems to be the case now here in the UK for some reason. The weather gets turned off at the weekend. But it's going to be actually quite warm this weekend and dry, but just a bit more cloudier. So there we go. For those of you living in the UK.
Good.
Obviously, by the time you listen to this podcast, probably next week, for the audio listeners, it will be completely irrelevant. But yes,
yeah, they've changed yet again. Yeah,
changed yet again. I know. I'm gonna have a relaxed Saturday this week for a change.
Nice.
And then Sunday, it's my father-in-law's 70th birthday.
Oh wow, cool.
So we're
all the cool people are 70 this year.
I know. We're all heading out, and we'll probably end up eating copious amounts of bad for you food.
Oh dear, how will you cope?
I know. Well, I've actually already ordered my meal for the weekend because we pre-order our food at the restaurant we're going to. And I obviously had to go with white bait starter.
Oh, very good. Yes, absolutely. That's not something you see very often these days.
Nev's.
Yeah. Nev seems less.
Not one of my favourites.
Is it not? Oh,
no. I think I had a bad experience at school. I think back in the 60s when they insisted that you ate that. It wasn't.
How posh was your school that they had white bait?
Well, they claimed it was white bait, but I'm not sure what it was. I think it was a couple of minnows out of the local canal.
Tasty.
A couple of goldfish from the local fun fair.
Absolutely.
Oh, no.
Right then, come on, let's let these lovely people get back to their lives.
Just quickly before we go, just for Captain Cruise there, Matt, just give Captain Cruise, you just mentioned
He says, anyway, best flight I ever had was 10 years ago, Dubai to Paris, when Air France leased an old Airbus A310 from a Portugal operator.
Oh, which was still in Oman Air colours.
Nice okay.
Seats and nostalgia for free. Yes, when did I last fly on an A310? I think that was a Swiss Air A310 back in the day, so probably mid-80s, 1988, from Heathrow to Zurich, something like that, I would imagine. But yeah, one of the last Airbus aircraft with a control column.
Oh, I say.
Or the A320. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that is where we're going to bring episode 508 to a close. Thanks to everyone who's joined us in the YouTube chat room tonight. Thank you to all the family for joining us in there tonight. They've had some fun, and also big thanks as well to everyone who downloads the show as an audio podcast. Thank you for listening and downloading us each week. We very much appreciate that indeed. So that's it from my studio here at home, from the PTUK Master Suite studio, where Matt is pouring with excitement.
Please hurry up, I'm going to...
And from Nev in his home studio, and from Nick in his lovely studio down in the south. Awesome part of the country there. Have a great weekend, everyone. Stay safe, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Say goodbye, Nev.
Take care. All the best. Bye.
finished being stressed that the show's going to go okay, and now I'm getting stressed because I've got to do a whole new week's worth of show notes again.
It's just never ending, is it?
No, it really isn't.
No, I know. You just think, oh, I've just got it all ready, and we've done that one now. Next,
got to do another one.
Jonathan Wallace says it's been nice to catch a nearly full live show for once. Seems ages since I've been able to.
Indeed. As if you look at my, I've had to lift the blind. I'm afraid the facade of the green screen has been ruined. Look, there we go.
Oh God, blimey, yeah. You're allowed to.
It's a bit warm. I'm not going to lie. Woo.
Yeah, I'm going to open the studio door here. It's a bit warm.
Yeah.
Nice and bright down south there, Nick.
Yeah, still nice blue skies.
Well, it's.
What's it like out here, Mr. Smith?
It's good. We've got the sun behind a couple of clouds at the moment, but. Hello, my man.
Right, I'm going to depart very soon. Yes, I need to go and eat some food before I eat myself inside.
Oh dear.
But again, thanks to all our YouTube guys and girls tonight. Thanks for joining us. It's been great to see you all in there. Very nice comments as well. Thank you to everyone in there. Thanks, Masha. Very nice comments indeed. Also, Tanya as well. Thanks for tuning in, because it's a bit early where Tanya is. But thank you to everyone.
Propsky says thank you to the fab hosts.
Oh, bless.
What does he
want?
Thank you,
Propsky.
What do they want? I prefer Nick's version of that, by the way. Propsky. I prefer that.
Propsky.
I mean, it may be inaccurate.
Yes.
But,
yes, I realise that now.
But Masha's saying it's 29. 29.
Yeah, that's mental.
Yeah. Well, you reckon that's what your wall is telling you at the moment?
We're on 27.9.
Oh, outrageous. Oh, that's it. Turn the heating on, quick.
Oh, blimey. Right. Yep. Nev, we'll leave you to say the final words to our beautiful chat room.
Yeah, thanks very much for joining us, everybody, tonight. And as they say in Wales, bore da.